We've got Annalise Nielsen there. I didn't know whether they told me in my ear or not, but hopefully we do. She's in Washington and she joins us right now. Now, Annalise, I would love to sit and talk to you about the Canberra culture and all the rest of it, but alas, you decided to go to the boring side of the world, that being Washington, where there's plenty of news, including Joe Biden's administration for weeks has tried to pretend nothing really to see there on the Mexico border, but guess what people assumed when the guy who was way softer on illegal immigration than Donald Trump becomes president? They assume they're going to be able to cross the border. Now, yes, adults might be being turned away, but they've worked out if you can throw a kid over the border, well, then the kid will get to stay. The kid maybe will be able to be an anchor that can bring the family with them. Yet, the White House will not call this a crisis because they don't want to get rid of that new car smell. But people in America can see what's going on. Is this the first dent in the Biden presidency?
It's the first real crisis he's had to deal with outside of the COVID-19 pandemic, and you can bet he's doing his first press conference on Thursday US time here, so Friday in Australia, and this is going to be one of the key questions because the language, you're right, that idea that is it a crisis, isn't it a crisis, has become the real talking point, especially, and it starts to show in the divides among the media here and also the broader public about what your perception is of the government. But really the only actual change in this administration's approach has just been the more compassionate language compared to Donald Trump, but then just the idea that they're not going to turn unaccompanied minors around at the border because they're still operating under the order that Donald Trump put in place during the COVID-19 pandemic to say, look, we're going to turn everyone around, but it's those unaccompanied minors. And now that's topped over 15,000 that are currently in different kind of government facilities right throughout Texas. One of the major facilities too was the one that Barack Obama built when he was dealing with this exact same crisis. But the pandemic's hit it harder. They're supposed to be operating on lower capacity because of the pandemic, and they're not doing that either because they've simply run out of space.
Well, and I suppose that's the thing that is so deeply frustrating, right? Which is that pretty obviously Australia is able to work out the difference between legal and illegal immigration. In the United States, the left of politics won't even engage with the term illegal immigration, right? We obviously have the natural advantage of being an island. There's a pretty obvious land barrier towards the south and many nations even further south of Mexico. But this was an issue that people go, look, we understand that it's a country of lawful immigration, but when there is an endless breaking of lawful immigration, that's what Trump was able to weaponise in his campaign 5 years ago. But because Orange Man bad, somehow, yes, the language might have changed, but there seems to be a fundamental misunderstanding or a deliberate misunderstanding by parts of American politics to even declare a difference between legal and illegal immigration. For example, you had to fill out a whole bunch of paperwork for you to be working and doing what you're doing in the United States for us.
Actually, I didn't because I'm a US citizen because of my dad. So I had
other people with green cards, other visas, you know what I'm talking about here.
I understand your point. But the key difference here is they rely on illegal immigrants. The entire hospitality industry is based off people working for a few dollars an hour. They cannot sustain that without people working here illegally and taking less than an American would in their place. And so there is that aspect to it. And then there's also a different history in the United States. For a long time, you did just rock up. Ellis Island's iconic in the United States. That's where my ancestors came to the US and they signed a book and they were American. And that was a very different time and place, of course. But it's a very different situation from Australia. Also, we have a much easier border to patrol than they do. They have people coming in from all sides.